Dave Brennan here. Today I'm going over installation of NVram. If you don't know what that is, essentially it is a replacement for batteries, or instead of batteries, to eliminate any possibility of battery leaking on your boards ever again. I just finished shopping out this Swords of Fury, and that was one of the things that was on the to-do list. So what's in there now are just some weak batteries. So when I turn on the game, on Williams games, it basically, when it doesn't have good batteries in it, it doesn't go to the startup. And so the way to trick it into doing that is to toggle the power switch on off quickly, and then it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the MPU and get those batteries off the board. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the back box and remove the board, and then I'm going to go through the steps of installing the NVram chip. Well, I'm inside the back box here, and the MPU on System 11s is the largest board in there. It has lots of connectors, so it's a good idea to snap pictures of every connector. That way you don't make a mistake when you go to put it back in. So I'm just going to fold down the back box, or the speaker panel, and take care of that now. Just kind of work my way around the board. Make sure you take pictures of the wire colors. Get a good clear shot. And these are keyed, so I'm not too concerned. A lot of times I don't end up needing to refer back to the pictures, but if you ever have a question, you'll be glad that you have them. All right, so let's go ahead and start unplugging. Alright, I will now take this to the bench and we'll take a closer look. Well, I got the board on the soldering desk now, so it still has the batteries in it, so I can just go ahead and remove these. You can also remove the whole holder, and to do that you can snip the leads on it. I'm not going to do that right this second, but that way you can ensure that no one is going to put batteries back in here once it's done. But for right now, I'm just going to leave them until I have a chance to test the NVram. So I have my handy little cheat sheet here, and essentially on System 11 it is U25. And so I have to install this Ramtron chip. It says FM 1608-120. You can see it. Anyway, so what I have to do is put it in U25, this spot here. And then I also need to reset or change a jumper from W5 to W6, essentially moving it over one position. So On this one, the chip is 2 legs longer than what is currently in there. So I have 2 options here. One, I can either completely replace the socket, which I do have new sockets to put in here. So that's option 1. Option 2 is to not replace the socket and take these are called SIP cut to the length legs, so I could actually make my work easier just by cutting a 2-pin and putting it in there, and then I would essentially extend out this socket, making the job faster and reducing risk by not removing this socket, because if you don't remove it cleanly, you can pull up traces and end up causing a lot more problems than you wanted. So if you're not familiar with how to do that, it can be a risk. There are some ways of minimizing that risk, such as you can actually pull up the plastic casing of the socket. Just essentially, before you even unsolder anything, you can get your snips underneath the socket and just pry it up, and then it will leave the metal pins of the socket behind, and then from there you can heat up each individual pin and pluck them out of the board. That is a much safer method of getting the socket out of there, rather than trying to go from the back side of the board and desoldering and trying to get every single pin clean so you can cleanly remove the whole thing as a whole. But if you're replacing the entire socket, who cares if you snip it out of there or not? The original one is going to be garbage no matter what. So do yourself a favor, take it out the safest method possible. Okay. First thing, I'm actually going to do this SIP method, and if I don't like it, I can always change it and go back to a full socket. So just pay attention to it. It's screen printed on the board. There's a notch where the chip end is, so it'll have to go like that. So just get underneath the chip of the original, and you want to pull that up, take it out. Oh, well, in this case I will be removing it. These are not the greatest quality of sockets, and I think I'll be better off just removing the whole thing. So with that said, I'm going to get underneath it just like I just talked about, and look at that. It's as easy as that. Pull off the whole plastic piece and throw it in the garbage. Okay, moving on. Now I got to get out all the little pins, each one of these, and like I said, you just heat it up and pluck them out. So here's 1, 2, 3. So it's fairly easy to get all these out of there. Much safer. Alright, now flip the board upside down, get all these pins off. Okay, I figured I'd touch on the why I plucked that out of there. So the RN, the brand on it, it's not the absolute worst. Scanby, I believe, is the worst brand name, but this is a close second. Anyway, and it is really easy to pull up. So I just know that they don't have the greatest connectivity to them. And I guess the way to tell is if you grab a hold of the chip and you can kind of wiggle it, and if you can pull it out with your fingers, it's not very tight. But anyway, I have these new sockets, so I might as well just use them. Alright, now for the step of cleaning out all of the solder holes. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to the back side. Make sure you're working on the right spot. I have done that before, where you start working and you realize that you're on the wrong chip. So make sure you get that right. So all I'm doing here is I'm adding a little bit of solder to each solder pad, just to, because it adds flux and heats up the old solder. It makes it flow a lot easier to get it out of there. Okay. Now, since I'm down here, there's that one jumper that I will have to remove, so I'm just going to heat up those while I'm here. Okay. Alright, I'll start taking out the solder, my desoldering gun. It's a little easier to see on an angle here. Get them all. And get a light. So All right. Now I can flip it over. And again, remember the notch needs to go the same direction as the screen printing on the board. Oh, before I do that, why don't I just move this jumper, because it's going to get in the way of my desoldering gun a little bit. So let's just get that done. Gotta add a little bit more to that one because I didn't get it. Okay. Alright, so the holes that I need are now cleaned out. So I'm going to move this jumper over, so I'm just going to get under it with a pick, heat up the leg, and hopefully pull it out easily, fairly easily. Maybe not cooperating. One. There we go. Alright, now I just need to place it on W6. It's just one hole over. And then just to hold it in place, I'm going to just tack one leg from the front side. Okay, well, whatever, I can just do both. Add a little more when I get on the bottom. Okay, now I can put my socket in. Again, the notch goes screen printing on the board, and now I can flip it over. You can either put something underneath the board to hold the socket in, like a screwdriver, or you could put a piece of tape on that side. I'm just going to hold it and tack one of these legs here. Okay, Now I can do all the rest. Okay. Oops. Remember to add a little solder to the jumper that I moved. Alright. I'll back up a little. Take a little bit of alcohol and a toothbrush. Clean up the flux. Now it's a good idea to check continuity on all of your pins. Make sure you didn't bridge any together that aren't supposed to be bridged. So these two are on the same plane, so they're supposed to be. They're connected to this big trace here. But all the other ones should be good. Or disconnected, I mean. And then, so these are connected as well, those ends. So I need to inspect those. Add some continuity there. I gotta see if that's those two. Let me check the other side. See if there's a trace. I need to see this closer, so these two. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 and 7. Side. Well, I think those are supposed to be connected, so I did not bridge any solder. Alright, so in this case, I need to put the chip in. So typically these come where the chips are kind of bent outward. So easy tip on this is to just put it against the table and kind of rock it forward on both sides. And that will move them all at the same time. And then you can put this into the socket. And make sure you get all the legs in straight. Nothing is outside of the socket. That's good. Okay, so this job is pretty well done here. So now I can take it back to the game and test it out. Alright, so I've already went ahead and installed all the connectors. It's really just the reverse process of taking it off, so refer to your pictures that you took. Make sure you get your ribbon cables attached, and make sure that your ground screws are tight, because that is the ground plane for the board. Anyway, let me put this back up. And then for the NVram, I did install a couple of sticker or labels, just so it's a good idea, since I'm going to leave the battery pack in there, but I just put NVram installed sticker on it, and then one on the RAM chip, and just so anytime if I open up the back box, or if I sell this game, they know what it is. So, put my card back up there. Okay, fire it up. Alright, so it looks like we're back in business. Typically, I'll need to go in and change it to, I think you saw it said 0 credits on there, so I'm going to have to go back into the menu system and change it to free play. But we'll call this job done. Thanks for watching.